last year I did a video on single oil soaps, and this video is a follow-up to that one about dual lye soaps. Now, this whole process is about building a recipe, knowing what soaps, what oils in soaps do, what you like, what you don't like, the proportions and so on. So all of the stuff I'm doing here is based from a book called Scientific Soap Making. It's a wonderful book. Do go and pick it up and have a read of it. It is not very complicated, but it does require you to get your head around a little bit of maths. But it's well worth sticking with because it does give you a really good insight into soap making and the science behind it. So really do go and check that one out. So in my mold here, we're going to do dual oil soaps. We're going to do palm oil and coconut oil together in the top left-hand side, palm oil and olive oil in the middle. We're going to do grapeseed oil and palm oil in the third cavity, grapeseed oil and olive oil in the bottom left, grapeseed and coconut in the bottom middle, and coconut oil and olive oil in the bottom right. So we're doing 6 soaps and they've all got 2 oils in them. Now, the way this works is you're going to have 50% of one oil, 50% of the other oil, and then you're going to work out how much lye you need to put in each one. Now, that depends on the saponification value of the oil that you're using. So, for example, olive oil has a saponification value of 135. And that basically means that for every 1,000 grams or 1,000 parts, should I say, of that oil, I need 135 parts of lye in order to convert that oil into a soap. Okay, so that's what a saponification value means. Now, the saponification value between potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide are different because they are different chemicals. They require different usage rates. And for the 135 is for sodium hydroxide for bar soap. So what I've got here is I've got my oils and my lye as a master batch, and my master batch solution is at a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1-to-1 means it's got 1 part lye to 1 part water. And I'm going to add that into my oils in each of these little jars, and I'm going to shake it. Now, the shaking action actually replaces the stick blender for making these 1 bar oils. It's a really nice way of making 1 bar of soap, so you're not wasting an entire batch, and you're basically just going to shake like that. So with these oils, I've worked out exactly how much oil, water, and lye master batch solution I need. I'm going to shake it up, and then I'm going to pour each one of these into a cavity. I've actually made more batter in each one of these than I need, because what I want to do is I want to combine all 6 of these oils in their various proportions into 1 bar and see what I get out of it. Now, most of these oils I do use in my standard recipe, so I've kind of got a head start on it, but I wanted to see if there's anything I can tweak, change, proportions that I might want to think about, oils that do strange things and stuff like that. So once you've shaken your oil up like this, you're going to take it off. You're going to have a little look, just make sure that it is saponified. And there we go. That is my grapeseed and coconut oil soap. So we'll pop that one into that cavity. There's a little bit left over, which is going to go into a separate mold off screen. And we're going to repeat this for each one of these dual oils. Okay. Now, this is going to be the grapeseed and olive oil by the looks of it. And the really important thing with this is that you're accurate. So rather than putting my oils on the scales and weighing my lye water into the oils, I actually pop my lye water on the scales, and I use a pipette, this large one here, available on Amazon, to actually move the lye water from the scale into the jar. Now, the way that this works is you pop the jar onto your scales, you tear out that scale, and you then weigh the water from the jar to the oil container. A gram is a gram, and regardless of whether that gram is going up or down, it's still a gram. So your scale will go from 0 into the negatives, and as long as you hit the same number of grams of lye or master batch lye solution that you need, you can actually do it that way. So you'll notice there that I've got a minus number on my scales, and I'm basically going to take that up to the minus number that I need for the weight of master batch that I need. So I need minus 26.5 grams of lye solution to go into this batch of oils. And just to prevent any kind of speed up of trace whilst I'm just kind of shaking this so it doesn't kind of just stick in the jar and I get into a whole heap of mess, I am adding some additional water into each of these. And I'm basically taking the weight of the lye, so just the lye, not the lye and the water in the master batch, halving that and putting that amount of water into my mixture as well before I shake it up. I just used a little pump bottle there that you could see sneaking into the bottom of the frame. So I just pop that into the oil as well, and I shake it. And again, you're going to repeat this process for each one of the soaps that you want to pop into your cavities. And as I say, I'm doing this with 4 oils, which gives me kind of 6 rounds that I want to work with. I'm going to pop each one in, and then we can come back and see exactly what we get from each oil. I'm just checking there for emulsion, just making sure that it has fully emulsified. These are going to take very little time to emulsify. So basically a good shake, give them a check, and then pop it into the mold. So instantaneously, what I'm taking note of is that the grapeseed oil and the olive oil has a different color. It's a darker color than the coconut oil and the grapeseed oil, which makes sense because the olive oil and the grapeseed oil both have that orangey hue to them, whereas the coconut oil is very white. This is your reminder to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Now, let's get on with the next step. So we're going with the coconut oil and olive oil now, and I'm going to speed the video up just because it gets a bit monotonous just watching me measure lye water solution into oils and then shake it. But one thing that's really important with single cavity molds, and you may have found this if you've used them in the past, it's very difficult to get the soaps to gel under a normal kind of CPOP process. So for those people that don't know, a CPOP process means you warm an oven up, usually to its lowest temperature, and that just depends on the oven that you've got. You would then switch the oven off and place the soap into it, covered, and you would then allow that soap to use the radiant heat from the oven to go through a gel phase, and you get brighter colours and a harder bar at the end of it. Single soaps do not generate that amount of heat needed to gel them. If you want to gel these, and it is recommended that you do gel them so you get a kind of better understanding of what the oils will do, once they are saponified, but also a little bit more about what they're going to do and cure, you need to get them to gel. In order to do that, you're going to heat your oven up to the lowest temperature available to you, but this time you're actually going to keep that heat on, and I kept the heat on for around about 45 minutes to an hour. What that does is it allows those single cavity soaps to gel. They go into they're going into a heated oven, not hot, but just warm, and you're sustaining that over a longer period of time, giving those soaps a chance to gel and to give you an accurate representation of what they will be like, more so than if you just left them out on the side to set up. So there we have our 6th soap going into that cavity, and I'm going to put all of these now into a single jar, give it a quick shake, and then pop it into a mold so we can test all of them together. But you can see we've got quite a bit of colour variation. We've got quite a bit of kind of orangey ones there. We've got 3 that are quite orange, 3 that are quite white. We just need to let these set up overnight and see exactly what we get. Now, I have a funny feeling that our grapeseed and olive oil is probably going to be quite a soft one because that's 2 liquid oils. Grapeseed oil is not a great one for saponifying on its own. It doesn't make a hard bar even using sodium hydroxide. So we need to see what's going on with that one, but the rest of them should be pretty good. And here is our other one, which is going to be all 4 of the oils together to see what we get. Now, there's going to not be very much bubble in some of them, and there'll be more bubble in others. We'll just see what we get from it when we come to test them. We're back the next day, and as you can see, all of our soaps have set up. And we're going to start with our palm oil and coconut oil, I believe this one is. Very nice white soap. Got a little bit of soda ash on the top of that one, but it's not too bad. So we're quite happy with that one. That's a really nice bar of soap. We'll see what the lather is like on that one when we come back to it. And what I'm just going to do is actually grab a quick post-it note And I'm going to make some notes on these ones just so I know exactly which one goes where when it comes to testing them, so I know exactly which one is going to look the right one in the soap lather test. So that's our palm and our coconut oil. Next up for a little bit of a look at is going to be our palm and olive oil. And again, we've got a relatively hard bar there. Again, a lot of soda ash on that one. Not concerned too much about that one. Let's just move this out of the way and pop my little post-it note down so I know exactly which one we're dealing with. So palm and olive. And the next one is the palm and grapeseed oil. So let's just pull this one out. Much softer, brittle. I can kind of squidge that one in my hand. So again, because the grapeseed oil is a much softer oil and it doesn't saponify in itself, we can't use that in too high a proportion because it's going to give us a soft bar, but we want it for the other properties that it gives us. So we'll go to see that one in a second. Next, we're actually going to go drop down onto the bottom and grab one of the bottom ones. So this one, I believe, is our olive and coconut. Ignore the colouring on the side of this one. There was some old colouring left in the mould that I didn't wipe out, and that's just kind of affected the edge. That's nothing to do with the soap itself. So that's our coconut and olive. We are then going to go with our palm and coconut, I believe it is. Or is it grapeseed and coconut? And the final one is grapeseed and olive oil. And that is soft. As I said before, 2 liquid oils. The olive oil will set up really nicely, but the grapeseed oil is not going to allow it. It's a 50-50 mix. It's just sloppy and horrible. And I just don't like that one. So again, we've proven that that soap is not going to work. And we therefore need to be very careful if we're using olive oil and grapeseed oil, what proportions we use them in, so on and so forth. Now, just a side note on this one, I did go back to this about a week, maybe 2 weeks later, and it did actually saponify up very hard. So it just needed a lot longer to saponify than the other ones. And I didn't realise that at the time, and it got thrown away. So I do apologise, but we can't test the lather on this one, and it did work. So I'm going to have to slap my own wrist on that one. Let's bring in a bowl of water and now give these a lather test and just see how they are. Don't forget, these have only been saponifying for around about 32 hours. So they've still got water to take out of them. Once they harden up, you'll get a better lather and all of that from them. But we just want to see what they're like at this point. So we'll run through them and I'll give you my kind of assessment of what they're like and how it all works. So this is our palm and coconut. Nice hard bar. We've got that little bit of soda ash on there. That will come off with a bit of a wash. Nice hard. Yep, we're liking that one. Let's see what lather we get from this. We'll get a quick dunk in here. And I am using gloves because there may be a little bit of lye left that hasn't actually saponified some of the oil. So I'm just being a little bit cautious with it. But we're getting a lather off of that one. Quite a nice bubble. It's quite tight. It's got a kind of almost shaving soapness to it, but it would probably need some stearic acid to do that. But we're getting a nice bubble off of it. It feels quite luxurious. I quite like that. It's a nice base. Just to mention as well that all of the palm oil that I use is responsibly sourced and vegan, and therefore it is it's a product that I enjoy using in soap. If you have a problem with palm, I do have a palm-free recipe in my description box. So quite liking that one. Palm and coconut, great base. Add a few other oils into there to get a few more properties going, maybe a bit of sugar, but that's a good base. Next, we're going with our palm and olive oil. Again, quite a hard bar, but it's a little bit softer than the first one. Let's see what sort of lather we get off of this one. So we're giving this a bit of a go here, and there is some lather, but there's not a great deal, and that would make sense knowing olive oil is something that needs a good kind of cure time and all of that. So it's very lackluster bubbles, quite small, not particularly great, but there's a little bit of bubble there. So again, when I'm using olive oil, I want to use that in a smaller proportion, keep my palm and my coconut. the little soft palm and grapeseed. Let's have a look what we get out of that one. And we get almost no bubble, almost nothing. That one may need time to cure. So we're going to move on to our coconut and olive. We know what this one is going to do. Look at the colour on the side of that. That's why you should always wipe your moulds out with some isopropyl alcohol. But these are just test bars. It's not that big of a deal. Now, coconut oil, olive oil, we all know why we put coconut and olive oil in our soaps. But for those who don't, this is why. Nice bubble, really nice lather, lots of bubble. We're really enjoying the kind of feel on this one. It's lathering very, very nicely. So coconut and olive oil together are a really nice combination as a base for soaps. So anyone you talk to out there is probably going to have olive oil and coconut oil in their soap recipe because of that reason right there. So let's get rid of some of that one. And the final one is our coconut and grapeseed, I believe. So a little bit softer, but not too bad. Got a nice firmness to it. What sort of bubble do we get off of this one? Just washing some of the soda ash off there. And what do we got? Look at that. So again, the combination of the oils you use are going to give you kind of different bubbles, and you can learn your fatty acid profiles. And I do recommend that people do that. But for those starting out that want to generate a recipe quickly so they can really get into soaping and have something they enjoy, thick lather there, really tight bubble, lots of it. It just kind of keeps coming and coming, really liking that one. But this is a really nice way of learning the properties of soap that you enjoy, what feels good to you, feels good on your skin, gives you the bubble and the lather that you're looking for without having to go heavily into that fatty acid profile. Then once you understand what oils you enjoy putting into your soaps, you can then go back and look at what fatty acid profiles they've got and how they react. So this little one here is actually a 100% lard soap. And I'm going to give this a little go here. Very little bubble. So again, using a single lard soap isn't going to give you a huge bubble or anything like that, but it does have the other properties and it leads to a nice hard bar and things like that. So again, if you use animal products, you need to test them just as we're doing here. So let's just rinse that bit off. And we're going to test the last bar, which was the amalgamation of all 4 oil bars that I had originally. So we had 25% grapeseed oil, 25% coconut oil, 25% olive oil, and 25% palm oil. So there are 2 hard and 2 soft. We're going to cut this in half and use half of it to see what sort of lather and all of that we get. Now, on the water, just on the top there, you may see a little bit of soap scum. You want to get rid of that in your soaping. Some citric acid is the way to do that, particularly if you're in a hard water area like I am. However, you will need to adjust your recipe because the citric acid will actually neutralize some of the sodium hydroxide, and you need to balance that all out. Anyway, cuts nicely, relatively hard bar. So we've got 2 soft, 2 hard. Let's see what sort of lather we get off of this one. And this takes a little while to get going. The bubble is quite nice, but I think it has too much of the grapeseed oil in it. So we don't want to go very high on that one. That's maybe like 10% max, a bit like castor oil. And we're getting some bubble, but it's not fantastic. But this technique is really good for just using up a small amount of oil, testing them, being able to combine them, and being able to understand exactly what oils you want to put into a recipe to get a certain output of bubble or lather or richness or whatever it might be that you want from your soap. This is a brilliant way of being able to do that in small batches. You're not wasting soap, and you can really dial in your recipe beautifully. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow and allows me to make more videos and tutorials for all of you. When you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell icon if you'd like to get notified when a new video is uploaded. And thanks a lot, Soapsters. I'll see you again next time.